Hi, my name is Shawn Taylor. That's my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame. Welcome to Avatar The Last Podcasters. Today we're going to talk about Amon. We're going to talk a lot about Amon and his very special characteristics and why he is so gosh darn hard to defeat, quite frankly. But before we do that, Chris, how are you? How was your holiday? Have you been? It's been a couple weeks since we've chatted.
Everything's fine. For some reason, I'm in a slightly irritated mood. I can't pin down why.
You took a
But
really long time to answer. Like, you took a really long pause, like, oh, this is Chris's version of bad, which, like, a normal person bad is over here. Chris' version of bad is just, like, right here. But I was like, oh, that's an oddly long response time. Chris, what's on your mind? Maybe we and the audience can be free therapists for you.
I have no idea. Like, it's just like an hour ago, I was like, why am I irritated? Like, I was like short with my kids. Other than that, I can't figure it out. But
I mean, let's be honest. It's hot out. Things are busy. Short tempers happen. Your kid, they'll forgive you. They'll forgive
I wasn't that short. I was just shorter than usual.
Relatively short. Yeah. Chris, I've never seen a person with a longer fuse than you with your kids. They can probably handle, trimming a second or two off the end of that wick. They'll probably be fine.
I feel so bad at camp. Went to camp again this year. Have we talked since then? I think we have. Yeah, it was like more than 2 weeks ago.
We barely talked about camp, though, if you'd like to address it.
Sure, camp was great. Weirdly enough, I went into camp like. So if anyone doesn't know, I volunteer once a year for a week. I volunteer at a camp for foster children. Great camp. It's like the hardest week of the year, but it's like one of the most rewarding weeks of the year. But I went into it. This was my 6th year doing it. So like going into camp, like I wasn't looking forward to it for some reason. I was just like, oh, this is gonna be a rough week again. And then like I just wasn't like energized and I don't think I was even spiritually prepared to go into camp. And then I was talking to this one guy and I was like, I might take off next year. And I still might take off next year, don't know. I was on this one other counselor. He was like, man, I'm glad you told me that. Because sometimes people will be like, just ignoring how hard camp can be. And he was thinking about not doing it again next year. And he's done it for like 15 years and now he's spared the whole family. And then, first day of camp comes, the campers get in. I see this one kid who I had last year in my cabin. I was like, man, this kid's so freaking great. Like honestly, one of the nicest kids I've ever been around. I was like, oh yeah, and like that, just seeing his face and his smile coming off the bus just re-energized me to have a great week camp. And I had an amazing week camp. It was great. Hard as always, but wasn't as tough. It was a great week. Really, it was a very funny week. Every now and then, something funny just happens, and the guy who I was talking to, the other counselor, he had like a terror. He had like one of his worst campers. He was like, "I don't like this kid." And we have this ceremony where we get out this like sword. It's the sword from we like knight the boys. Oh, you're gonna be a knight like in the army if you have and we say we get each kid up. We say something really great about them. We talk about their character, their commitment, or dang it, what's the third C? Character, commitment. Oh my gosh, character, commitment, and courage. That's what it is. So we talk about one of those things that the kids might identify with. So we say something really nice. And before this guy goes, he's like, Chris, man, I'm about to get my Denzel on. About to win an Oscar. I'm gonna say such great things about this kid. And he gets up to talk about him, and we can see each other. We're in eye contact with each other. He starts talking about him, and then I can't hold in my laugh because I know that he is just lying through his teeth. And it was just so funny because then. And I'm so bad at holding my laugh that I fake a yawn because this is like a serious moment. The kids take it seriously. We all do take it seriously for the most part because we all are saying really great things. Throughout the week, we find things about these kids. They're so great. But and then other people could see me laughing, trying to hold it in there, trying to hold it in there. And then you get to a point where the person doing the knighting asks, like, "Do you commit yourself to be like an honorable kid and stuff?" And the kid responds with, "Sure." And then that counselor's facial expression was like, "I knew." And then like when he did that, I couldn't. I was like, and then I just had to like just go away, not go away, but just completely ignore what was happening.
I appreciate that that kid validated all those feelings in a single word.
Sure.
Listen.
Oh, then I killed everybody at Uno. I was for some reason like at nighttime we have counselor meetings. I say counselor. We don't. We just have 2 hour breaks. We tell the kids it's counselor meetings and trainings, but it's just 2 hour breaks for us to just blow off steam and just relax and whatever. Or we got to work on some stuff for the kids. But we usually play Uno. And like first day playing Uno, we played. There were 7 of us in one game and playing by house rules, not Uno rules, where you can stack them and stuff. And so there's 7 of us, and we played 5 games and won 4 of them. And I was just like bragging. I'm like, do you guys see? Statistically speaking, I should only win 1 of 7 games. I won 80%. I'm just killing. Like I was really braggadocious. But anyway,
Take
camp was
that, other
great.
counselors. Good people
Yeah,
volunteering your time for these children. Get out of here, you bums.
and
Take,
like,
take
and
your
we get
fake
so
poker chips
loud.
with you.
Like we have this weird thing where we like if someone like plays a draw 2, and we go like stack, come another person plays draw 2, and we just start going like stack, and we just bang the table until and it might get around the whole table of a draw 2, but weirdly competitive, going
Listen,
on.
you gotta find ways in that environment to be able to let off some steam. And if
Yeah.
slapping a table and yelling "draw 2" does that for you, then hey, that's good. It's doing the trick.
Anyway,
Well, listen, I know the week is draining, but like you make those kids. Well, most of them, some of them probably just don't
they
want to
still
be there. But you make most of
they
those kids
yeah,
whole. Their whole summer. You're making it for them.
yeah.
Like
Yeah. Anyway,
like when they go back to
but
school and the teacher asks them what the best thing they did this summer is, like there's a number of those kids that are gonna say that camp. So that's pretty
yeah,
cool. You should be proud.
yeah. No, it was great.
Excellent. Chris, let's talk about Amon. It's a weird transition
Yes.
to go from like helping kids talking about like a well, he's not murderous. I was gonna say murderous villain. He probably would be if you pushed him. I'll call him a murderous villain. From kids to a murderous
Okay.
villain. So this is an idea you had in the backlog where we just Amon is such a compelling villain, and we've both been on record at various points saying that he might be the most compelling and powerful villain in the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. And we just thought we wanted to discuss in kind of an open format, kind of first of all what makes him so compelling, what makes him so hard to defeat, and then if we had to pick characters that we thought stood the best chance of actually defeating him, who that would be. That's all the context I really have. Chris, anything else going on in your brain you want to introduce before we start the discussion?
Nope. That's what it is.
Sweet. I would like to lead, Chris, and I would like to say the number one thing that makes Amon so compelling, so maybe unique from other villains, gives him a somewhat foreshadowing strategic advantage in a way. He is terrifying. He has this power that he has leveraged in a way that nobody has ever seen. The costume is terrifying. The whole aesthetic about him is terrifying. Like they didn't go Grindelwald Fantastic Beasts with him where he's supposed to seem kind of likable. Like no, he is revolution minded, but in a way that implies like war and bloodshed directly. He looks horrifying. And just that combined, like that, his whole aesthetic and appearance combined with this sort of previously unseen power that no one is yet aware of or aware of where it comes from, it just has an immediate psychological edge over, in my opinion, any other villain that we have seen in the universe to this point.
wholeheartedly agree with that. As a person who has cosplayed as Amon a few times, there is when you cosplay as a character, you start to feel certain mannerisms of theirs, and with Amon, it is like it's something about it is you get a more ominous feeling. There's something about that mask that is just like everything's dead except the eyes that makes it so uh so I like a better word, ominous and daunting and frightful.
It's like we talk about, Zahir and Kubira's platforms to an extent feel relatable. To an extent, feel relatable. Uh, Korra's uncle, what's his name, seems like a creep from the beginning.
You
Like
know
he was
what?
he was always the creepy uncle that you weren't supposed to let your
True,
kids
true.
spend time with in a room alone. But something about this, I wonder if sometimes for me it's great. For me, he is the perfect season 1 villain for Korra, trying to get this new series off the ground. But I wonder if he's just in like such stark contrast to like a classic flat big bad that was
Hmm.
Ozai in the previous series,
Yeah.
that was like an immediate turn away. Like, holy smokes, this isn't like what a big shift in gears. But for me, it's perfect. I'm wondering if for other people it wasn't, because he is
Yeah.
almost the opposite of Ozai with just like, gosh, I don't even know how to describe. Yeah, he's the opposite of Ozai. He's so deep. He's so mysterious. You don't have his just sort of world domination plans out on the forefront in classic bland vanilla big bad way.
Hmm. Yeah, and something about him that's really interesting is that so all Korra's villains, the things they want, you can look at it as a way of like, oh, it's good, and like
There's a
Amon,
relatable aspect
but
to all of it. Yeah.
yeah, but for most of them, the end results of their plan is bad. Like Zahir wanted chaos, which just ended up being like his ideal situation would be Korra gets killed, the world gets turned into chaos, and that's natural order things. Unalaq's was I turn into a giant monster and I bathe the whole world in eternal darkness for 10,000 years. Kuvira's isn't like terrible, terrible. It's like I'm gonna control the Earth Kingdom
Kind of
and we'll be
moderately
fine.
political,
It's
like a contemporary political. Like, no, this is better under rule.
yeah, like Amon didn't even really want to run Republic City. It was just like I want to take away bending from the whole entire world.
I
Where
think
does
that's what
that
makes his
lead?
scarier. Is it's kind of less political, and it's more
Yeah,
about just like, hey, we're all equal here. After I take away your bending, like it's not
yeah.
political.
He's not doing it to grab power for himself. Like imagine if
He's not lobbying to be the king of the world or the mayor of
yeah.
Republic City or anything like that. It just, and that's what's such a stark contrast there again from Ozai's like
Mhm.
basic world domination plans or whatever. Like, no, you just gonna take your bending. That's all.
Yeah, like imagine like bending. It is people who are born benders just because they're born benders have a absolute advantage
An
in the
innate,
world compared to
yeah.
non-benders.
You immediately
Like
have a physical gift that is not possessed by all of the
that
world.
that helps you in fighting. It helps you in jobs. It helps you in any sense of the whole world. Like bending is it's part of everyone's culture everywhere.
Sense
Um,
of belonging, sense of that kind of group pride. I mean, everything. Yeah,
yeah, like imagine in the real world if a certain group of people. I'm not gonna get on white privilege because that's because bending is a way more privilegey thing than than white privilege compared to for
well,
the
yeah.
most part. But like imagine if
The
if a
thing with
certain group of
bending is like
people
the sort of innate physical, like tangible manifestation of it, rather than just sort of socio controlled
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm articulating myself well, but
No, I get it. And then there's no veil of any type of prejudice or anything in there. Well, but just based off of anyway. But my point is, imagine a world where like a certain group of people just got $1 million to start off their lives with, and other people didn't.
like you
But
come
let's
out the
say 10
womb and
million.
you got $1 million in your bank that your parents can't take away from you.
Yeah.
They can't spend recklessly. It's in your bank, and that's what you got.
It's like, okay, well, what about these other people who didn't have $10 million? Like, all right, well, hey, what if no one gets $10 million? Oh, okay, I guess everyone will just have to be on equal footing.
Then you would start to, wouldn't we learn how to survive better without, like, as a group, without starting out with, like, there's a relatable concept under there.
Yeah.
I still like that he doesn't delve into that a whole lot. He doesn't give a lot of metaphors or anything. It's like, no, you have bending, and it's clearly obvious that you're using it to kind of control the world, and I'm going to take it away. Like, he doesn't proselytize it a whole lot, I guess. It's just kind of clear and innate, and I don't know, it's immediately relatable. It doesn't take a lot of description.
And that's something. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of people to get behind that cause too. Like, because even when those like citizens are being um, accused of being equalists, and like Tarlock rounds them up, and like they can't do anything; they're powerless.
I think
So he has a very relatable and logical cause.
Equalist is such a funny name to me because, like, usually names for groups like that would spawn from, like, a news outlet or something that would be outwardly, like, way more negative than that. Like, Equalist, like, just immediately it's like, oh, wait, those might be the good guys.
If you wanted to spin them in a negative light, I think you would call it like the.
I mean, a news outlet, like a bad news outlet, I'm not going to name any names here, would just call them, like, anti-benders or something stupidly blatant. Like, just...
You would put an anti in there.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd hit the negative. It's that negative campaign. So the fact they're called equalists, like, somebody in the media thought these guys had a point.
Probably. And I think they got their PR team on it quickly. Like, we're not going to let them brand us. We are going to brand ourselves equalists. And we're going to put that in all of our propaganda and everything, that people have to call us equalists. And they might have someone on the inside too, in the news to spread that.
Good strategic planning on Amon's part, Chris. Good strategic plan. Foreshadowing. So that's one. Well, that's several facets of it. Chris, we haven't even touched on the fact that so that's like all A, 1A, 1B, 1C, 1C, 1D. 2 is that he is a tremendous bender, both by nature and by nurture. And so by that, I mean, he has inherent gifts to him, right? He is a bender, has a powerful level of bending, and I think there's enough evidence to suggest that not all benders' bending ability is created equal. And also it's nurtured in him by an immensely powerful bender. So, like, from the beginning, his physical tools, just from every possible angle, were going to be groomed and potent. And, like, we haven't even gotten to that yet, and we've already created a strong villain without that.
Yeah. Yeah, being Hardin just naturally talented, and then they say he's way more naturally talented than his brother, who wasn't as naturally talented picking up bloodbending, and trained by his father, who was probably he was a top 3 bloodbender, possibly the second greatest bloodbender.
At his time, he was probably the second greatest bloodbender ever.
Yeah, I mean, he took out a room full of probably the top 5 benders, top 3 of the 5 top benders, plus an avatar, and a whole other room.
He was the best bloodbender.
I'm sure he was. Yeah, without a full moon. And then Amon took that to a whole other level to do psychic bloodbending without even having to move anything. Yukon had that also, I believe. Yeah.
I think he notes that it came from Yukon still, right? It's not like he didn't self.
Yeah, because Yukon could bloodbend without moving without doing hand movements and stuff.
And then, so then that's all really cool, and that all makes sense to me. I would say that the last part that I'm maybe not quite as in love with. It's not this bad. It's not I disagree with it, but kind of my least favorite part is he also seems very like adept at martial artistry to a degree, and I don't know if I like that's we're borderline OP in my opinion, and I'm going to stress the word.
He
opinion.
is. I mean, one thing he has to disguise himself as a non-bender, but also when he fights, he probably looks like a stronger martial artist because he is casually bloodbending them like out of his way when he fights people to where they don't even realize it.
That honestly helps me immediately be more okay with it and more cope with it, thinking of it in that light, like that slight element of he's controlling their movements to some degree. In my head, I tried to attribute it to like the way that he grew up and the art of bending is such a physical process, even though he himself doesn't need to do that anymore. But just that there again, that way is being raised. So that does help me cope with it a little bit more in terms of there again. I don't love it when stuff is OP, but if it kind of makes sense, I'm okay with that, and that does feel good narratively. Chris, anything else that makes Amon, like looking at Korra directly, like such a potent match for Korra, and what makes him so like seemingly impossible to beat? And I'm going to go back to sort of this mental aspect. There again, Korra is Korra is such a good bender, but at this stage in her character arc is so reliant upon just sort of powerful, potent bending that I think his mental game, and you would probably say the same if it were Aang or maybe other people we can discuss shortly. But I don't know. There's just an extra level of the intimidation and winning the mental game that I think is what makes him sort of the extra special big bad that we remember and appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, I think out of all the villains, Ozai was pretty scary. So out of all the villains, Ozai is probably the second third scariest. I'll put Zahir above Ozai just because
Zahir
like
isn't gonna hurt you if you're not.
I only say that because Korra had like PTSD about Zahir. Like
okay,
also this was after the fact.
Okay.
Most after the fact. The thing with Amon is that Korra was afraid of Amon before she even met him. Like, he turned on the radio, and she was, like, shook.
The thought of Amon, like, was terrifying, the aura. Ozai, we always talk about Ozai, again, I've described him as kind of flat, and I think, we've discussed it kind of at length before. That doesn't mean he wasn't terrifying. Like, you're talking about a wildly powerful bender behind a wildly powerful and technological advanced army with a flat, obvious, clear goal, which was to, like, be in control of the world. Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. Yeah, I don't know if the others inspire the same level of fear as Zahir in his own way, I guess.
Yeah, like I said, Zahir is probably more of an after the fact kind of thing. Because Korra was pretty... Like, when Korra was facing him face to face, she wasn't, like, afraid of him. It was after the fact, after she got put through the ringer.
Noah talk is a little more after the fact, and even then it's not scary as much as, like, creepy after the fact. Like, holy smokes, that was that guy's playing.
You mean Tarlok?
Tarlok, pardon me.
Or, no, you mean
Noah talk.
Unalaq.
Yeah, Noah talk.
No, Unalaq. Noah talk is Amon's real name.
Oh, there's so many ox. All right, let me get this right. We got Noah talk and Unalaq.
Noah talk and Tarlok are brothers.
Noah talk and Tarlok. And then Unalaq and...
Yeah. Unalaq is the brother to, oh my gosh, Korra's dad.
His name is
Tonrock. His name's
okay.
Tonrock.
We only hear his name a couple of times, so I don't feel too bad. Okay.
I always remember Unalaq because there's Unavatu and he's the Una part of the
That
Unavatu.
makes sense. It's our power couple name. But he's only really
Yes.
creepy once you see his like kind of whole plan unfold, and then it becomes terrifying. But like in the process, it's not like the whole world's worried about him in any way.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree. Uh, okay, Chris. So if you, I'll let you rephrase this. You're gonna have to rephrase this in a way that you feel is more fitting of a question. But what characters stand the best chance of defeating Amon? Who do you need to beat Amon?
Yeah, and what do you need? So there are, I think, specific parameters or criteria that you need to meet in order to beat them on. One is simple. One is so we can go into the list, but think about these two parameters. And the thing is, one of them no one really thinks of them. The first one that everyone thinks about is just sheer power, right? People who have sheer power and just sheer amount of chi are people like the avatars. Um, and a few other people can somehow overwhelm Amon's bloodbending without that sheer extra force of chi. The next thing that you're thinking about, I was watching the commentary on forget which book. I mean, it's book one. It's Legend of Korra, book one, when Korra gets kidnapped by Tarlok and Amon is there. There's a moment there where Amon is like, "Oh, we captured the Avatar," and he leaves it to his henchmen to like wrap her up because Korra's caught, and he goes out into the car or whatever to wait for him, and Korra breaks free, and then she runs away. In the commentary, they say that she ran far enough that she was out of the distance of Amon's bloodbending. So there's a certain distance you have to think about also.
I'm
Can
just
a character get out of a certain distance? But also though, these characters wouldn't know that. This is commentary. This is only information that Mike and Bryan knew they could share. The characters within the universe probably have no idea about this limitation. But there are certain characters who fight within a long range.
I, I'm just thinking about this right now as you're saying it. So it's not a very well developed thought, but I'm thinking of a that like combustion bending. It's not that they would
Exactly.
have to know it, just something they already do from a distance.
Yep.
Uh, so yeah, maybe maybe a Pali might have a
Yeah.
mild advantage at just keeping him at bay.
Yeah. I'm gonna assign like percentages to what I think these characters can do. Like percentage on like what percent chance they have at a beating Amon. So a character like Pali, actually I'll start with Combustion Man. Combustion Man has straightforward combustion bending. He's usually always at a
A
distance, and from what I
little
can tell,
unpolished, but distance.
yeah, from what I can tell, he doesn't fight up. His natural thing is to not fight up close. The only question is, can Amon like get out of the way of it? And so I will probably give Combustion Man 70,
That's
yeah,
in the
70%
ballpark. I
chance.
was thinking like 2 out of 3. Like combustion
Okay,
man is
yeah.
going to come on top more often than not, but not overwhelmingly so. So I think
Yeah,
that 60 to 70 ballpark feels realistic.
yeah. And then with Poli's a way better combustion bender. Like even if combustion bends at him and he blocks it, she can come at a different angle multiple times. His bending isn't set up necessarily to stop it. Like it's hard. Like Kai, that airbender, was from a distance flying, had a lot of trouble blocking her, and he's
That's an
moving pretty
airbender,
fast.
yeah.
Wow.
Which you think you would?
Um,
Well, I don't know if there's advantages to that.
yeah.
Is
So
it
I'll probably give Pali an 80% chance.
is it spoiling it to wonder? Then I'm just like wondering immediately if Pali probably has the best chance of anybody. Would
Um, So if she has one of the best chances for a person that doesn't have avatar powers. I think when we talk about avatars, anyone who, but this is interesting though,
I think the
because
avatar
Amon is
state,
really
if you can get into the avatar state, then the avatars all have a relatively strong chance. It's sort of a question of timing of, are you talking avatar not in the avatar state, or are they able to get into it before they go into this thing?
they're able to get it. In this case, they're able to get into it at any point that they see fit. Um, Amon's bending is not able to overcome the avatar state. Like it's just probably too much chi for him to try and bloodbend. Um, so that's the interesting thing is that when Amon was facing Korra, he never tried to kill Korra because he knew if I put her life at risk, she can trigger the avatar state. So he never tried to like you see him fight.
That
He's
is
never
one
been
of
like,
the
"Oh, I'm gonna
best
kill you."
laid parts of his whole approach, too.
Yeah, like he didn't even try to take away her bending when he could have that first time because Ryan was like, "All right, my plan's not ready yet." Like,
That's
and if I
part of
try to like,
that's part of the mind game. Though, like, I'm not even gonna
yeah,
take your bending. Yeah, you just keep being you. I don't even care.
yeah.
I loved it.
So I would say for a fully realized avatar who can control the avatar state, they would have a 98% chance
Okay,
of beating Amon. But that's
super.
also the that's also the and the same probably goes for a dark avatar. Same. It's that
Yeah, we only saw
notion.
one dark avatar, and Chris, he's
Yeah.
he's 0-1. Okay, listen, empirical evidence, he's batting 0.
Oh, he's 1-1. He had the first
Okay,
fight with Korra. He won,
no,
and
you're
then he
right.
lost
That's
the second
two
fight.
split.
Yeah.
That's 2 fights. Okay, that's fine. Um,
Um. So, but if we're counting, so we got Palia 80%. But what would be interesting if we think about non-avatar state. What could some of the avatars do?
I think
I think for the most
Earthbenders
part,
would have. I think Earthbenders would have the best chance just from a what do you call it, like an incapacitation standpoint, like
okay.
incapacitating from a distance. I feel like a good Earthbender would stand the best chance.
Um,
Like just literally throwing up a
yep.
wall, just a massive, a massive impenetrable wall of brick in between you and them. Like he's not a good climber. He's not going to get over the wall. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I think incapacitate
Kyoshi.
maybe isn't the same as defeat, but it's where I would, if I were a gambling man, that's where I would put my money.
Which is interesting because Kyoshi might have the best chance. Korra did defeat him. She was able to overcome his bloodbending without the Avatar state, and Aang needed it, the Avatar state, to overcome it against Yukon. Just FYI there to people.
No, I think
Uh,
that's informative.
but Kyoshi is a bloodbender, like if you want to put it that way, because she can bend blood to freeze. She can freeze people's organs, and so she will probably have some type of reason. She's probably more likely to have resistance to um, blood bending the same way that Korra has. I'm
She
sorry,
would
same way that
also,
Katara has resistance to blood bending because Hama couldn't blood bend her.
you kind of
Granted,
combating it
Amon
with
is
your
a
own.
way, yeah,
Korra would also stand the best chance again to the Earthbender theory of maybe bloodbending and or just being able to mindlessly from a distance just throw up the biggest wall you've ever seen in between you and him. And so
yeah.
I think that would give her a good advantage out of Avatar state.
And I, I don't want to, and I don't want to be against Aang so much, but I've seen Aang go against a bloodbender, and he lost.
I'll say the same
And
thing
that was a
about Ann.
fully,
I say every time, and that's that he'd probably be pretty good at getting away. Right? It's not like I think Amon
yeah,
could
yeah. And
catch
the thing is
him.
that these situations would change if all these benders like knew. So they all know he's a bloodbender, but I don't think they have any idea about his range that he has. Um, so yeah. So I think when it comes to avatars, Korra without bloodbending would have. She got pretty lucky. Um, would have a 33% chance. And I think she got that 33% chance.
When you
And
say defeating, in my mind at Korra, I was thinking like 40-50, Aang a hair lower, Kyoshi a hair higher.
yeah,
Yang Chen I'm struggling with because I don't know what sort of when defeat implies offense, right? It's not
yes,
getting away. Defeat implies offense, and I don't
yeah.
know how I feel about Yang Chen's odds being better than Aang's in any way.
Hmm.
So I put her in the same bucket. Roku just as a very powerful firebender. I don't know, like how long is
Yeah,
Amon gonna stand up to fire? But he's a waterbender, so I don't know. Like that's a tough toss up. Also, maybe he's not very. Maybe that's still in the 30 to 40 range.
yeah.
Rozuki does stand a
Um,
chance. Poor Zito.
yeah, that
Zeto.
guy.
Zito.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm gonna
that's
hitch
how it's
my I'm
ours.
gonna hitch my wagon to the Kyoshi horse.
I think Avatar she has the greatest chance. I'll probably put her at a 45. If I put Korra at 33, yeah, Kyoshi at a 45.
If you gave me 50-50 odds on Kyoshi and I were a gambling person, I'd take it.
um, as for how long have we been recording? Also, I just want to make sure my voice is recording.
We're on
Um,
37 minutes.
oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. So then, if we get through avatars, the next thing of benders who have long range attacks, which is probably the most deadly and at a long distance, would be lightning benders. The thing is, though, is that lightning benders, firebenders are relatively in close combat. And so I don't think, and we've seen this, like Amon fought Lightning Bolt Zolt, and they can't get him because Amon will like they'll aim at him, and he'll just bloodbend them slightly off to where the lightning doesn't hit him.
This sounds stupid. It's just based on empirical evidence. When I say empirical evidence, I mean visually, literally what we can see on screen. But lightning bending isn't ever really done at long range.
It's not that.
It's not that it can't be. It's just that there's nothing to suggest that like we don't know. We have
I
seen
I
combustion bending at long
assume
range.
yeah I assume lightning bending can be done at long range only because that's how lightning works. Lightning travels,
I know, but
miles.
you're at where the lightning endpoint is, and you're redirecting it. And, there's
Yeah. And
some
also,
fictional science
once you're at
involved
that
there.
point, once you get far enough, like lightning follows the path of least resistance. Who's to say that we even strike this person
Yeah.
at a long distance?
My interpretation is that lightning is very hard to control. So unlike
Yeah.
combustion, where you're sending a projectile on a trajectory, that you do not get to exercise that same level of control that gets harder and harder the farther away it gets. That is an
I,
interpretation, but it's one I stand by.
it's a valid interpretation. And besides that, these lightning, like I said, firebenders tend to fight within the mon's range. Easy enough, and so I don't think like if they knew he had a certain range, they could exploit, but even then it might be a little harder. But the thing about lightning benders who would have the best chance, they probably all have the same chance, right? Probably like 5%.
Yeah, if you were also just an exceptionally powerful firebender, I don't know how to say this without singling out Zuko, but like if you were like, I'd give it Iroh a better chance, Iroh or Ozai a better chance than a Zuko just by nature
Yeah.
of being an overpowering type of bender.
Well,
But even
Zuko I give 0% chance because he has no lightning bending. He just
yeah,
has purify.
but even then, the firebending parts, I assume at this point, if we're having this kind of a battle, you're assuming that you know that he's a waterbender, and so even that doesn't add a ton. But I just like the ability to be overpowering if possible.
Yeah,
I'm not giving firebenders a great shot at all. What if you had a Yuyan Archer who was also a firebender?
But that's interesting. A Yuyan Archer? Weirdly enough, Shawn, a Yuyan Archer might have the one of the highest chances of beating him on because they're solely long range. Like they start off long range, and they can pin the wings of a fly to a tree without killing it from like 50 yards.
So that to me is still an anecdote, right? That's like the fishing tail because you literally can't do that. I don't know if you've seen the tip of an arrow versus the wings of a fly, but I'm gonna say that you and archers from a distance don't have a better shot than combustion bending, or than police specific. I'll say police specifically, just because of sort of potent power and like if you miss with an arrow, nothing bad happens. If Pali misses by a couple of feet, like it's still an explosion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're at least below Pali, even if not far. That is my general.
Well, I think process. About when they were able to capture Aang. Aang was still like it was kind of a chase, but Aang was able to like water bend like a shield above him. So I think Amon will have probably stronger water bending than that. But I think they will still be able to tag him, at least knock the mask off his face, and knock him out. But I agree with you. I don't think it's higher than Police chances.
60 and 70.
I think it's around there. Well, I gave Plee 80% chance, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give pretty much any Yuyan Archer, or if we want to say the best Yuyan Archer, I forget his name. I'll probably give him the same chances as Combustion Man, probably. Because like you said, a combustion bending near you is more concussive. Even missing is concussive. But a Yuyan Archer is probably more able to shoot off more shots and probably more accurate.
Combustion Man, in my mind, is like, you know how we always talk about Avatar being diverse? Combustion Man is like the American action movie version of a character. Like, he's just going to keep shooting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I value the Yuyan Archer's accuracy. But Combustion Man's, you used the word for it and I forget what it was. That pop, that poof. That seems like a similar ballpark to me. They're probably more practiced, just skilled killers. Combustion Man, just like, oh, that guy's freakishly got this weird talent. Felt less polished.
Yeah. Let's see. When it comes to other characters, Toph probably doesn't have a good chance of beating him.
What about give me your best overall metal / earthbender, and maybe that's like Kuvira. You don't get shooting the range, off, but there's again. I'm looking. Can they incapacitate from a distance?
Kuvira. So I think Toph is probably the best metal bender, but then Kuvira is that Kuvira can often fight from a distance, and she loves using those armor on her as really good projectiles. The only thing is, like, if
he can still blood bend is the issue with incapacitating.
Yeah, the interesting is like whose range, whose range is longer than the other one's range. Like, but if Kuvira, like, the thing with combustion bending is that it's like it will just keep going. There's no range. Also, we've seen the range of it. It's a really long range. Kuvira's bending and Amon's bending is probably. I have no reason to assume they're not the same range. But throwing something, it will still keep going. Like, you put a certain amount of force on something, it will still keep going. Bloodbending, it doesn't keep going. It stops wherever that range is at. So her range is probably naturally longer.
I'm gonna put blood. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I'm just saying. I'll probably put her chances. She probably has the best chance out of most metal benders. Probably any metal bender we know of. So I'll probably give her a 7, 8% chance.
I'm going to give her more personally because I'm going to put. We don't know is the issue, but I'm going to say that blood bending is maybe a little bit like lightning bending in that maybe there's not a hard range as much as you start to lose control. Like, it's not that your Wi-Fi signal goes from full strength to off. It's just harder to control at a distance. And he probably has pretty good range. But I would expect Kuvira's range with those things to be bigger. He still can blood bend outside of being incapacitated, but I think her range with those things would make a difference. She's going to treat those like projectiles. So I like her chances not at halfway, but closer to like 30 to 40.
Oh, wow, that's high.
Specifically. Maybe not most other metal benders, just because we haven't seen them use that, again, as like a projectile before.
Yeah, most of them don't. I mean, Toph uses metal bending a lot of times to make armor or to
defensively
make
or incapacitatively.
Huge things. Other notable metal benders, Suyin and Lin Beifong tend to use a really close contact. Lin uses those strings, those metal ropes. She really has
maybe
no
that would
chance.
be the second best option, but still not as good as a loose projectile. But
yeah, I just don't think those ropes aren't. I mean, I would think the range of those ropes. It looks like she does a whole bit, probably about 20 feet.
20 yards. Oh, I was giving yards, but yeah, like.
I was giving 20 feet probably.
I like the projectiles better though because at worst they're bullets, right? You can't tell me that she couldn't put something down to a needle and just throw it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would be in the like 1/3 camp for Kuvira specifically.
Okay. The other bender we haven't mentioned yet, which Avatar fans, if you took a poll, they would say that this person, 80% of them would probably say it would be Amon.
And I don't get it here.
Nostalgia and favorite. And I'm talking about Katara. Katara's
one of the most powerful her at her own game.
Yeah, that's the thing. He is. I'm sure she is better at water bending. We're talking about just water than Amon. When it comes to blood bending, Katara did blood bending once during a full moon.
She didn't like it.
Yeah, she didn't like it. She never did it. Well, no, I'm sorry, she didn't do it once. She did it twice, but both during a full moon. He can blood bend that same amount of skills without moving a single muscle. Break of dawn, no moon just get into his first phase, or whatever phase where it's a crescent. He is as far superior. I can't really think of a situation where Katara could beat. It would have to be at least a full moon, but his bending is then amped also.
So, no, that's a bad matchup.
Yeah, I would. I'll give her a 1% chance.
Yeah, everybody has that chance, but
yeah, it would have to be on a full moon. She probably gets because of spirituality. Even because of her connection to the moon, she probably gets a slightly bigger edge. So it would have to be a full moon. So that's already a 1 in 30 chance.
When she knows the moon, so that's pretty exciting.
True.
It's a buddy. It's nepotism.
But also, she would have to get really lucky. So like a 1 in 50 chance or whatever she gets lucky. So we put those two chances together, 1%, sure.
Yeah. Well, and I'm willing to round up to 1% for the sake of odds making. Chris, this is kind of unrelated, but my wife and I were babysitting a friend's kids yesterday, and I heard Katara's voice coming from the living room. I was like, oh, she's watching Avatar. I don't give Mae Whitman enough credit. That's the moral of this story. And then I was listening, I was like, when did she say that in Avatar? And why is this 3-year-old child watching Avatar? I know that ain't right. I walked up there and she's Tinkerbell in the Tinkerbell movies.
Yeah, there we go.
Didn't know
Okay.
that
I
before.
was curious. I was like, what character is that? Okay. Yeah.
It's not that. There again, it's just me not giving Mae Whitman enough credit. But I personally have never encountered any of her other works. Like I knew that she did other stuff, but it's not like Gray, where I have so much personal life experience with all those. It was the first time, so I was like, "That. What is she talking about? What is she making?"
You know what? Lightning Bender probably also has a good chance. That is, I wrote the second.
You know
he's
what?
the best.
We harped on him like what was that 2 or 3 episodes ago, and then this episode we forgot him, and then next episode, does he deserve a spot in our next episode?
I was thinking about it, but he didn't really do as much strategy.
We'll give him an HM. We'll give him an HM.
Okay, that's fair. He is a general of the United Nations.
That was we don't see the evidence that we're looking for. In a tangible way, but you see it like implications thereof. But listen, his sample size, his one sample. Talk about the Dark Avatar batting 500. Well, this guy's batting 1,000 in the most incredible way possible.
Okay, real quick, other characters.
Yeah, final thoughts. Final character thoughts.
Well, we didn't mention other bloodbenders like Tarlok. She got hit butt-handed.
I'm a little brother. I listen. It's the same thing as like being worse at them at their own game.
Yeah.
The only way you could beat him is, I don't know, a gas tank in an ambush. You know what I mean?
He is I think he's a better waterbender than him. So I'll give him, but because he got handled so easily.
But being a better waterbender doesn't have a ton of advantages in the fight that we would be witnessing here.
I would give him a 5%.
I'm maxing at 5. That is my peak of what I would give him.
If I gave Katara a 1, I'll give him a 5.
That's what I was thinking. I gave Katara 1, I'd give him like a 2, but like 2 times the chance of Katara, sure.
Even though Katara has like the same, like probably a 1.5% chance of beating Tarlok.
Which is funny to think about, yeah.
But then Tarlok has the same chances of beating, close to the same chances of beating Amon.
Don't read into our math too much. We're doing some retail math, not good math.
No, I think I miss doing retail math.
I miss playing Excel more, but whatever.
His father Yacon probably has a little bit of a higher chance. I give him maybe like 6 or 7%.
Jonju used projectiles as an earthbender. Thoughts there? Not metal bending, which I think is kind of important, but he used projectiles well, right?
Yeah, a little bit, but I think
he's never seen a bloodbender. Let's get that off.
Yeah, he would have no freaking clue.
It'd be terrifying. I suppose he could. Well, you could say this, I'd say the same about Korra, pardon me, Kyoshi. But no, Kyoshi, she may not know what it is, but she's doing it, so it would have some resonance.
Atuat. Atuat's interesting. She's an amazing bloodbender. Atuat's from Kyoshi novels. She's the one to taught Kyoshi how to bloodbend. She could stop a person from dying.
But there again, I'm thinking that's so defensive.
The thing
not that she wouldn't figure it out, but
she is not. She has 0 offense.
I'm giving her aim chances.
I could see her being able to not get bloodbent, but then Amon just hits her up with the waterbending, even though he's not one of the strongest. Even though he doesn't display to be one of the strongest.
That's important too. We just don't see it. I have to assume that he's a decent.
He's a good water.
Yeah.
When he almost drowned, he did that water funnel, which is probably about 30 feet in the air. That's advanced techniques there.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's at the same level of water bending as Korra or Katara or even his brother.
But he is educated. He's got the degree in water bending in an advanced way. He just doesn't have it. He doesn't use it at his job. but it's there.
It's like my finance degree.
Like your finance degree, exactly. Because I got a degree in Spanish, man. It happens to the best of us.
No, the thing is, that's not a wasted degree. It's just a degree that I don't. I use it. I just forgot it all.
If you have a job that pays bills and puts food on your table, and you also have a degree, that degree was not a waste. I will die on that hill.
Let's see here. Other characters. Eric could beat him. You could shoot a gun at him from a shoot a cannon.
You even said it in kind of a vague fashion, like, I could beat him if I shot him.
Yeah.
Like, Julie, the thing, and then she hands him like a long range sniper rifle.
Yeah. Oh, do you think? Nah, Lauga couldn't beat him. Yeah.
Lauga is interesting. There again, I know I'm showing some bias towards Earthbender, but I just think they have the best chance for long range in a projectile sense. So
Lauga might have been around long enough. Oh, and he's added him to the strategist list probably also. Lauga might have been around long enough that he's seen a bloodbender.
Strategy and wisdom are different. I'll say that much. But
they're absolutely different. I just assume he has some strategy in his.
Chris, give
guys
me
like 400 years old.
A hair below Kuvira. I think Kuvira's advanced offensive technique is still better, but like, give me Kuvira minus whatever we said for her, minus 10% for Lauga.
Okay, minus 10%. Cool. I'm good with that. Okay, so I think to sum it up, Pali has the best chance, unless you're an avatar, but that's almost a cheat code. At a 80% chance, that's pretty great of a chance.
Chris, this whole talking to me about this, just like, what a good first season. Is the first season of Korra my favorite season?
Season 3 is still my favorite season. It's such a great season.
Let me think about that. Anyway, let us know who we forgot down in the comments. Give us your odds. Are they going to defeat... I know we kept the language kind of generic on purpose, but are they going to defeat Amon? How so? Let us know. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. My name's Shawn. That's Chris Ford, a.k.a. The Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter, or what's left of Twitter. Topical humor. And
very empty today. I think a lot of people did go over the threads. I started a new threads, and they already suspended my account. I think because I was supposed to... I tried to just sign up. I didn't want to sign up through Facebook. I didn't want my Facebook used to be connected. I wanted to be separate. Like, I don't like Facebook tied to Twitter, so I didn't want threads tied to Twitter. They're like, no, your account's suspended, and I don't think they like that I tried to make a different account.
I want so bad, Chris. I have never, not one time, watched an entire fight on television in any sport that was not a fictional movie in my life. I would absolutely buy on pay-per-view a Mark Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk fight. I would watch that so much. Are you in the rumors? Do you see that? Like, that's like Twitter news currently. Yeah, I would watch that so hard. If there were odds makers,
he's suing Meta, which is weird because to me, I always thought of Twitter as just being.
If you don't care about social media, you should leave now, just for the record, and for the listeners. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
Like, I always thought Twitter is like just Facebook, but just statuses of different companies and people. Like, that's essentially what it is. Twitter, but there's the trending thing. Facebook also has trending.
Realistically, so Twitter is for certain demographics, certain age groups. Twitter is the news. Realistically, that's how it's treated, and that's how it's used by its most popular users. It's weird to wrap your mind around, but anyway, I'm putting $100 on the Zuck if it happens.
If I had to choose to go,
Chris, I want to point out Zuckerberg is in shape, and he takes his martial artistry very seriously, or at least moderately seriously. And Elon Musk is like 51 years old, And he's got a lot of height and weight on Zuckerberg, but he's also like 51 and out of shape. So yeah, give me the Zuck. Absolutely.
You know, the funny thing is, it's like I I'm I like to think that I'm a very smart business mind, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, because all they come out with all these new apps like Blue Sky, Hive, whatever. I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, none of these are going to work because it takes a while to cultivate. There's too much noise with all these new apps,
Mm-hmm.
and none of them will be able to rise above. It would take another social media to create their own thing, spin off of them. Like I had this thought to myself like a week ago, and then now Facebook comes out with Threads. I'm like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. And then I've seen so many people go over to Threads, and that seems to be like it could stick if Twitter doesn't. And also, it's just it doesn't make what he's doing isn't sound business mind. Like I'm like, what? This doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense. You're making your product worse. You can't force people. He wants people to buy Twitter Blue, but you can't make the product worse to make people buy them. You got to add features to something to make it buy it.
Yeah, don't degrade the other experiences. Add features for the Blue.
Yeah, like and that's so obvious.
We will not deny that both of the two are a good businessman, and we will not pretend to like either or be a fan of either person on this podcast. But in a fight, yeah, listen, Zuckerberg is not only in shape, but he also might be a robot, so that might help him. He might be a lizard person from a different planet, and I think that's going to play in his favor.
I also think I should be running movie studios because the way it's set up nowadays, it's not set up to make you the maximum amount of money. Like the Flash just came out, bombed at the box office.
It feels like they care more about gross than net, is what it always feels like to me.
Yeah, I mean they do because that's what gets the headlines.
I know it,
but
upsetting to me.
But like they are incentivizing people to not go see movies in the theater. Like the Flash first weekend came out, didn't perform well. A couple of days later, they said, "Oh, it will be out on digital July 18th." Okay, well now why would anyone go see it when they can wait a month?
Yeah.
It's like you are incentivizing people to make films bomb so they can save money. The thing is, that once it gets to the 18th, and then they'll be like, all right, well, it'll be on HBO Max for no additional costs a month after that. So then you're like, well, why would I spend extra money then if it's just going to be HBO Max? So like, you're not building it. They need to rewire the audience to longer theater times to have to wait for it to get to your house. But
how's Indiana Jones performing? Because I just in my head, I'm not going to express like bias pro or against the franchise, but in my head that seemed like a movie that would perform well at the box office in the current day and age. That's Disney, right? So if it came to streaming, or when it comes to streaming, it would come to the higher tier Disney Plus. That seems to me like a movie that would do box office well.
Is that it's actually doing about the same as the Flash,
okay.
and it actually costs more than the Flash.
Okay.
Although the way that news outlets are reporting it would make you think the Flash is a bigger bomb. The Flash is an undeniable bomb, without a doubt. Things I love. Well, I don't know if I love. I really like the film. I want to see it again. It's not even playing near me right now. But Indy 5, whatever it is doing pretty much the same numbers with the same costs. But it's kind of being. It's not as there's no spin there. There's more spin. There's no spin with the Flash, but there's more spin with the Indy. Don't know why that's the case.
Just the general bad taste of like Ezra Miller and recent DC versus Disney and Lucas. Like Spielberg is here. Those guys. John Williams made the music, right? That instantly is gonna get a movie the positive.
John Williams, although John Williams didn't come back and make the music in the Flash, but they did use the Tim Burton music that John Williams.
Oh, nice.
John Williams did. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
John Williams?
No.
Wait. No, John Williams didn't do Batman.
No, but like just having the Spielberg, Williams, Lucas.
No, Danny Elfman.
Of
my
Indiana
God.
Jones.
Almost lost my Batman card.
Is immediately going to give like a positive aura around the
No, that's
movie.
true.
Thanks for listening to our perspectives on recent movies and Mark Zuckerberg fighting Elon Musk. I hope that you left a while ago if you were done. My name is Shawn. That's Chris Ford, aka the Objective Geek of YouTube and Twitter fame, which is how this whole loop started. I'll put all of our details down in the description. If you can spare us a like or a comment, subscription, whatever form of interaction you're willing to spare with us, we would greatly appreciate it. And hey, thanks for being here. We'll catch you next time. As soon as I can find the close button. There it is.
Oh, it's funny. I'm wearing the Flash shirt.
Listen, it's just a negative statement around anything with Ezra Miller in it right now. Deserved or not.
It is a really good case study that